G'day guys, we're back for something we haven't done for quite a while, the hit out, just a little solo, little hit out version of the pod that I do every now and then. Haven't done one for, probably earlier in the year, but generally speaking, I don't get too fired up to chat solo like this, just for maybe sort of 10 or 15 minutes. But after the fights today, I was pumped up. I had nothing else to do, and I thought, let's jump back on. So first of all, guys, I'm a biased Australian, probably like most people watching. We have to start with Liam Paro's split decision loss, which we'll get to the scoring of that later, to the new IBF 140-pound champion, Hitchins. Look, I guess I have to start with how I thought it played out. I, funnily enough, had the identical scorecard to Chris Mannix. I thought Liam won 3 rounds. I had it 9-3. I thought Liam won the first, the third, and the fourth. From the 5th onwards, it was essentially a complete shutout to Hitchins. We spoke about it on the last couple of pods with Coxie, and I'm always biased towards Aussies. That's why I don't bet anymore. I learned this lesson years ago. Not that I really bet on boxing that much at all anyway, to be totally honest, anymore. But I learned those lessons too, don't you worry. But especially when there's an Aussie involved, because I'm a barracker. I just always barrack for the Aussie. I always just explore it the best ways that we can possibly, those guys from our country can have success on the highest level. I never really take into account, well, obviously I do, about the opponent's strengths and weaknesses, but essentially I'm just looking for the way that the Aussie is going to have the best level of success, you know? So I don't encourage anyone to listen to anything I say if they want to make any bets involving an Australian fighter, and I certainly learned my lesson the hard way. I don't bet on Aussies in world title fights, or even any fights at all, really. So let's just recap a little bit over what I thought was going to happen. We spoke about on the last pod with Coxie, and Coxie made some great points too about the evolution of Liam's style over the last few fights in particular. Excuse me. This is all pretty fresh. We're recording this straight after the fights, basically. Oscar Valdez has been interviewed in the ring right now, which we'll get to after this. But so we spoke about the evolution of Liam's style, and his greatest strength coming through was always his control of range and his way that he could manipulate that range to always suit his offense and countering ability the best. So far, so good in the first couple of rounds, like that first third of the fight. It was looking pretty good for Liam, but credit to Hitchins. Again, I made this mistake in the Dana Coolwell Bruce Carrington fight, where Bruce Carrington was coming off a little bit of a lackluster performance in his previous fight. And again, we spoke about this on the pod. I was judging him probably too harshly off that performance rather than the high watermark that his ability suggested he was capable of. And he absolutely came out and was excellent against Dana in every category. As biased as we are, and we want to say otherwise, we can't, because that's just what took place. And today, very similar circumstances with Richards and Hitchins coming off that very debatable win over Gustavo Lemos. He's obviously, in the lead up to the fight, with Liam, spoken about his reasons for that fight being lackluster, and maybe he didn't have his best performance, and potential injuries and all those things. Excuse me. And again, I probably graded him a little bit too harshly on that performance. I didn't grade him coming into the high watermark that his talent and his ability had suggested that he would be able to get to. And just like Shushu Carrington, just like Bruce last week or the week before, whenever it was, he proved me wrong, and he rose to the occasion, and he was rather brilliant. We knew that Hitchins isn't the type of guy that if something's working and he's just shading rounds, he is not going to change it up and put his foot on the pedal and try and force anything else to happen. He's just going to continue that pattern and rack up those rounds. That's exactly what we saw. From the 5th to the 12th, I thought he largely swept. Well, I gave him every single round. I had it 9-3. I thought the 2 judges that had it 8-4, look, I'm not going to blow on a round, but the Puerto Rican judge, actually, Nelson Vasquez, that had that 117-111 for Liam Paro, I believe that's 9-3 in rounds to Liam. That is, wow. I wish that was how it happened. I watched the fight, and you guys did too. That was not in any way what we saw with our own eyes. That is just one of the most unbelievably horrific scorecards I've ever seen in my life. And I wish it was the actual scorecard because I'm a biased Aussie and I wanted Liam to win so badly, but it just wasn't the case. So after that fourth round, I thought Liam was doing really well. He was getting his shots off pretty well. Hitchins, excuse me. If I'm being honest, probably took those first couple of rounds off. If he didn't take him off, he was certainly not showing all his cards. He was very much warming into the fight. Once he kind of got his timing and his range down, it immediately became especially difficult for Liam to get anything going. The biggest problem I thought Liam had, which funnily enough is the thing that I praised him the most for, and I believe his greatest ability, which is his control of range, his control of distance. We knew coming in, Coxie had identified it. I'd spoken about it as well on previous episodes of the pod, so you guys have most likely heard this. I'll try to just get through it as briefly as I can, but it was different. The new version of Liam having to, all the onus was on him to break that distance and force the action and create his own offense. Hitchins isn't a guy that's going to give you anything. He's not going to take a risk and, throw a wild shot or, run in and throw a combination that you can possibly counter. He's going to do the same thing in every single fight. Very similar to Devin Haney. They're going to sit back. They're going to wait and see what you can do because they're generally taller and longer and they've got great timing and they throw nice long straight shots at you on the way in. So that's what worried me. I thought the fight was going to be really dull. It certainly wasn't as dull as I thought it could have been. I can't say I enjoyed it because our boy didn't get the decision, but I was expecting it to be way more clinch heavy, maybe a little bit more full of fouls, which there were a little bit, but overall I thought it was probably the best version that matchup could have been, obviously without our guy getting the W. But it was that range, and I just felt like, and obviously there's reasons for it, and I don't know what those reasons are in the immediate aftermath, but it just seemed like the distance, that gap in their feet, so they're fighting this way, but that gap between their front foot, Hitchins can land the shots when their feet are this far apart. Every time. He's longer, he's taller, he's got really good timing. Liam could probably land the shots when their feet were here or neutral, or preferably on the inside or the outside. Liam just couldn't get to that range. He couldn't get his front foot close enough to Hitchins to be able to land those shots. I just thought the left hands he was throwing, and I'm not criticizing him. Massive credit to Liam. He did not give up for a single second. He never got dropped. He never got rocked. Didn't look like he was hurt. I think he lost 9 rounds, but he never stopped trying to win, and all credit to him. The Aussie fighting spirit was absolutely on display, but it was just that range battle. Liam just could not get close enough with the feet to get to a position, and we're talking milliseconds in this game, and if you fire a shot when your feet are this far apart compared to here, that's that little second of time and that little less anticipation that the opponent has to be able to get out of the way or slip the shot or counter. So it was just that, ironically, that range battle that I felt like Liam couldn't overcome in this fight, not through lack of trying. And Hitchins is one hell of a problem when he's allowed to be in that range, and he dictated the distance of the fight and the pace of the fight for the back 2/3 of it. So it wasn't that he was allowed to, it was that he was able to, implementing his own style and his own game plan. The other thing that I was a little surprised by was the lack of body work both ways. I mean, I didn't necessarily expect it from Hitchins coming in, but I thought Liam could possibly adjust to the body, especially with the tall, upright stance and that sort of shoulder movement and the way that the head and the torso move from Hitchins. I thought if you're forced to be throwing the shots from that foot positioning that's clearly too far away, maybe if you lower the eyes and roll over a little bit and throw that left hand straight to the body rather than trying to catch him up top. But look, these are all what do they say? Hindsight's 20/20. It's so easy to say these things. It's just things I was thinking, during the fight. It's obviously so much harder to execute during the actual fight itself. But I really thought that was kind of the story of the fight, just that lack that distance was just too far away for Liam. It just suited Hitchins to perfection, really. Let's be honest. And Liam just couldn't find a way to break that gap. And it was all headhunting from both guys. But again, if you're Hitchins, why would you go to the body? Why would you start throwing uppercuts? Why would you start doing things when you're winning the majority of the rounds? He's not that type of guy. He's not going to put his foot on the pedal and go for it. So, not necessarily what I expected. Absolutely not what I was hoping for. I was wrong in my prediction for sure. I'm Team Paro all day. I'm Team Australia all day. I'm Team Stephen Edwards all day. I'm Team Alfie DeCarlo all day, and I'm Team Ace Boxing all day. It was a tough one, but one that certainly can't be disputed. But yeah, Nelson Vasquez, 117, 111 Paro. I mean, God. We're still got, what have we got, a couple of weeks left of the year, and maybe we just got the worst scorecard of the entire year. That is absolutely atrocious. But we'll move on, guys. We had that really good top-ranked doubleheader. Just give me a sec. Hang on. We had that really good top-ranked doubleheader today, which has literally just finished. Now they're interviewing Emmanuel Navarette ringside on the, I guess, the Spanish broadcast. But I've just got the radio going over here, guys, because listening to it on the radio. So, yeah, I'm just assuming, obviously, he's being interviewed because, obviously, I can't see it. That would be illegal, of course. So, guys, we had the Ramirez, Rafael Espinoza, Robesi Ramirez rematch, which I missed the first two rounds, admittedly. I was still sort of sending a few texts on the phone to people about the Liam Paro result and stuff like that. It was pretty rough. So I saw the last four rounds. If you don't know, Robesi Ramirez put his hand up and had decided that he'd had enough. I believe at the start of the sixth round, excuse me, it may have been the seventh. I believe it was the start of the sixth round. And look, I didn't see much of the fight. I was distracted. I was thinking, I missed the first two rounds. I was thinking about Liam Paro, to be honest. I wasn't scoring. I was just watching it to enjoy it, which I was. Enjoyed the first fight. What happened on that ESPN broadcast with, so the commentators, if you didn't see it, were Joe Tessitore and Tim Bradley, obviously ex-world champion and Hall of Famer Tim Bradley. And they kind of set the scene or set the narrative a little bit that the Robesi Ramirez camp were worried about the elbows of Rafael Espinoza. Rightly or wrongly, they felt like he was using his elbows in the first fight. To ESPN's broadcast team credit, they showed multiple different angles, even before the stoppage, of possible elbow infractions, which really weren't there. There was one in particular, but it was sort of more of the forearm, and it didn't necessarily look intentional. It just looked like an awkward exchange, to be honest. They picked up audio in Robesi Ramirez's corner in between the fifth and sixth rounds saying, my eye's damaged. I believe Ismail Salas was then, I guess, verbally quoted as saying, look, go out there and see what you can do. 10 or 15 seconds into the sixth round, a clean right hand lands on Robesi Ramirez's eye that was damaged. He immediately took a backward step, put his hand up, turned his back, and the fight was off. Now, personally, I have absolutely no problem with a fighter going, you know what? Something's happened to me. Not my night. See you later. I'm out of here. What happened on the broadcast was truly one of the most insane things and disgraceful things I've ever seen in boxing. Joe Tessitore, who, to my knowledge, has never competed as a boxer, either professional or amateur. I could stand to be corrected on that. I don't believe he's ever spent any time in a gym or sparred. If he has, I stand to be corrected on that, and fair enough. But this guy, wow, talk about showing a lack of respect to the fighters and the guys who are putting their lives on the line. Immediately admonished ferociously and really aggressively started having a go at Robesi Ramirez as a quitter. Oh, he's quit, he's done this. Look, I'm not even going to repeat the phraseology and the terms that Tessitore used. It was truly alarming. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Tim Bradley was kind of sitting there and man, I'm still in a little bit of shock, to be honest. Anyway, I just thought the roles were wrong. And then they get back to the desk, and Mark Kriegel was at a loss for words. You know, he just couldn't believe that Robozy Ramirez quit. Look, did he quit? I don't know. I don't have X-ray vision. None of us do. Maybe the guy's got some serious things going inside his own head that only he's the only person on the planet that would know that. I will never, ever, ever question and I don't think anyone should, or expect a fighter doing the hardest sport in the world, where we unfortunately, and knock on wood, we never ever see this again. But unfortunately, it's a legitimate reality of the sport that we watch every weekend. Fighters lose their lives, they do, and to expect every fighter to go in there and happily fight on with an injured eye and go blind, or some sort of injury and fight through it just because other fighters have in the past, I think is asking too much. I think it shows a massive, massive lack of respect for the fighters themselves. And I thought it was disgraceful and a horrible look, an absolutely horrible look. I think Tessitore and Kriegel, look, I don't know them personally. I don't want to come on here and publicly try and shame anyone or have a go at their ethics and morals. Only they know that. But I think the way they acted in those couple of minutes immediately after the fight were disgraceful. I really do. It's horrible. Like if you have one of these jobs, and these guys are I'm looking at them now. They're doing this. I'm listening to them now on the radio. They're doing their state of boxing thing. Oh, they're talking about Naoya Inoue and Sam Goodman, but obviously I can't hear it. But if you've got one of these high-profile jobs on ESPN in America or DAZN or something like that, I mean, look at today. Shout out to mate of the pod, one of the best commentators on the planet, Corey Erdman, had an absolutely flawless day. And the main thing that Corey always does is he maintains 100% respect level for the fighters, as well as also technically being able to break it down, add interesting facts along the way, because no one in the game researches the way Corey does, but he always has an immense amount of respect. I had Al Bernstein on the podcast earlier this year. He always maintains an immense amount of respect for the fighters because they deserve it, they've earned it, and they deserve it from each other. They absolutely deserve it from us. We're not fighters. We don't know what it takes, and maybe some of us are, or some of you are. And so you definitely know what it takes. I don't, but I know how I can imagine how hard it is. So I always maintain that respect for those guys, just like Corey Erdman does, just like Al Bernstein does. And today, what we got from Joe Tessitore and Mark Kriegel, I thought was just really bad, a really bad look for the sport. I'm sure they will come out to regret their words and the way they reacted to it in the immediate aftermath, in the immediate future. But you had Tim Bradley being the voice of reason, which was such a bizarre 180 role reversal. I couldn't believe it. It's like normally Tim Bradley's the one that's just spouting off with all these crazy things. But, when you've got a world champion Hall of Fame fighter like Tim Bradley, who did risk his life in the Provodnikov fight and has fought for world titles and done all these things, they've earned the right to say whatever they want about these guys. They've walked the walk. Now they can talk the talk. Tessitore's done nothing. Kriegel's done nothing. I've done nothing. We cannot speak the way that a fighter who has can. And we shouldn't. And they should know better. I just thought it was really bad. Anyway. So Rafael Espinoza wins that fight and retains his world title. Sorry, guys, I'm fired up. That's kind of the main reason I jumped on for a rare hit out. But the next one I want to talk about, guys, is Emmanuel Navarette actually stopped Oscar Valdez, and I think at the 6th or 7th round, I didn't write down the result, with a brutal body shot, absolutely brutal body shot. It was... as we predicted on the pod, we thought, Coxie and I, that the rematch was going to be the action fight that I don't think we got in the first fight. It was sort of rather wide to Emmanuel Navarette. And it's kind of how it played out. And I think Oscar knew that too. Oscar knew he didn't have a lot of success in the first fight, and he had to take chances in this fight. He had to, and he did. All credit to him, and it made for a really, really fun 6 or 7 rounds. It was pretty one-sided. Oscar got knocked down at the very end of the first round, the very end of either the third or the fourth. I can't remember. Sorry, I don't take notes when I do the hit-outs, guys. We just bloody jump on and go for it. So, but both of the 2 knockdowns, he was knocked down like within the last 10 seconds both times, So if we were fighting 2-minute rounds, he might have had a bit more success. But unfortunately, it's 3 minutes on the men's side. So, yeah. But I mean, there's really not a lot to, I think, break down here besides acknowledging the fact that Oscar really did have a dip, mate. He took chances. He knew he had to. He landed some fantastic shots, some massive shots, like the same sort of those overhand sort of looping hooks that he, similar to the one that he knocked out Miguel Berchelt with. But Navarrete just eats shots. Nothing affects this guy. I don't know, I don't know what's going on. He's just got the for a guy that started at 122, now he's up at 130. We obviously saw him with Baranchik at 135, and he lost that fight comfortably. But I don't think he was hurt, not that I can remember at least. Anyway, he certainly wasn't hurt in this fight. The guy's just tough as nails. It's unbelievable, and that style you cannot prepare for. How are you going to prepare for Emmanuel Navarrete? These leaping lead left uppercuts and he's switching southpaw a couple of times a little bit too, which I hadn't necessarily noticed in the past from him, but I'm sure he's done it. He's the type of guy, it's kind of hard to really analyze his style because it's so all over the joint, just to be totally honest. You know what I mean? The guy just throws stuff at the wall and sees what sticks, and stuff always sticks and it works for him, except in the Baranchik fight. But, good on him. It was a fun fight, and, bloody credit to Oscar. Oscar's been a warrior, mate. He's been a warrior. I've felt lucky to be able to watch Oscar's career, and there's no shame in losing to Navarrete. And but the thing, again, I'm a biased Aussie, the thing that stuck out in my mind with Oscar's inability to be able to hurt or even really worry Navarrete, I was like, man, Liam Wilson gave him fits. We know that. We know Liam can crack. So it's like we haven't seen much from Liam for a while, and he's still young, and I feel like there's still potential for Liam at that world level. Not immediately, but if a few things are corrected and worked on here and there, I mean, God, he fought Navarrete and Valdez, as we all know, and geez, he was right there. I feel like if those mistakes can be corrected, a couple of physical ones, of course, but I think the main one is between the ears. If that can sort of get sorted out, and maybe Liam Wilson, I'm talking about his ability to maintain that full 3-minute focus for every round and not get sucked into positions where we've seen him be vulnerable in the past. Man, the sky's the limit. But yeah, could he make 130 again? I doubt it. I think he's up at lightweight now and probably will end up at middleweight in the future. The guy's a big kid. But yeah, just a funny observation that I noticed there anyway, guys. But yeah, really fun day of fights. Obviously, we had from an Australian perspective, we didn't have our guy pulling it out, which was a shame, and an unexpected one for me, to be totally honest. But yeah, Liam's Paro this time I'm talking about. So many Liams. He's got nothing to be ashamed of. He tried his guts out. He fought his heart out, and today wasn't his day. And talk about taking a loss, in the classiest way possible and offering no excuses. That's what Liam Paro did today. Very similar to the way Luke Jackson took his loss against Carl Frampton all those years ago, and many Aussies have in the past. It's important to be, as I'm stealing a line directly out of Liam's mouth post fight on the microphone. Humble in victory and humble in defeat, and he certainly was, and he was a great example. So hopefully there's opportunities for Liam to bounce back in the future, but. Yeah, geez, tough one to take for us, but today wasn't his day. But they were the fights for today, guys. So, yeah, just a little bit of an update moving forward. What are we at? 20-something minutes. Sorry, guys, I didn't realize. I love chatting, so I thought this would be like a 10 to 12 minute thing, but what are we going? 24 or something at the moment. So I apologize. So I'll get it out of here soon quickly, guys. But yeah, just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for all the support for this year. I did mention in the outro of the last pod that we could potentially be trying to explore the possibility of getting another one in around the Sam Goodman Naoya Inoue World Title Challenge coming up later in the year. And then we've got Jai coming up on the 8th of January next year as well. It's probably more unlikely now than it was a week ago when I said there might be a chance. Yeah, nothing nefarious or anything like that. I actually hadn't reached out to anyone yet, but I've actually got to be out of my house in a couple of weeks before Christmas. So that's kind of logistically just thrown things out a little bit like that. Got alternative accommodation all figured out, but everyone knows it's just the moving thing, and just a whole big spanner of works to be thrown in right at the end of the year before Christmas. So, yeah, the chances of me getting one out are probably slim. But look, there is a chance, so we'll see how we go. But this will probably be the last time we speak this year, guys. So just a genuine massive thank you for everyone that supported. Sort of spoke about how we had a little bit of a break in the momentum throughout the year, but we're back at the end of the year. Definitely going to be trying to get a big year happening coming up in 2025. Hit the ground running in January with hopefully a massive Jai Opetaia world title defense, and a successful one at that. I'll be doing my best to also grow the YouTube platform, which has kind of been a bit of a surprise. Again, I've spoken about it on the intro and outros the last couple of pods. Wasn't something I ever kind of really had my eye on. I'm recording a solo one right now, which kind of feels very weird and uncomfortable. I'm sure the more I do it, I'll, be trying to deliver a better product. But for the time being, we've got to get the runs on the board. We've got to get the sparring in before we can perform on fight night. So we just look at this as a bit of practice. But yeah, I'll be doing my best to sort of grow that platform. But whether to everyone who's supported, and whether it's been on any audio platform, iTunes, Spotify, whatever the app is, audio style, or even now YouTube on the video style, which we're not expecting to do groundbreaking numbers immediately. Going to try and build this thing up. I'm going to make that a priority next year. Try and build up the YouTube a little bit more, but we'll see how we go. But yeah, to anyone that's supported on any platform, sent me an email, clicked like, subscribed, done any of that. I never say at the end, oh, can you guys do this for me? Because I feel like just listening or watching or whatever, that's enough. That means the world to me. But anyone who goes above and beyond and extra, it's also massively appreciated as well. So, yeah, that'll be the plans for next year, guys. That'll probably finish us up. I'm rambling. Obviously, I always do. I'll do my best to keep this under half an hour now. I thought, 10 or 12, 15 minutes at max. We're doubling that. But what do? We'll get to it next year. But yeah, guys, most importantly, best of luck to the Ghost Sam Goodman coming up on Christmas Eve. We've got a ton of fights. Joy in January. It's going to be an absolute heaps of fun. So as always, guys, that's the hit out. That's us most likely for 2024. Very much appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Enjoy the fights, and I'll chat to you next year.
Road less travel may add up the change. Living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came. I was living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came. I got the wake-up call, laughing through the window frame.